Hi loves, welcome back to my channel, Peace with Sha. I go by Sha or Shalanda. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that notification bell, so that you never miss an upload. If you're a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 things you should consider before getting locks, or 5 things you should consider when you're in the lock process. So if you feel like this video could be helpful, make sure you stay tuned. Or if you feel like it could be helpful for just someone you know who is getting locks, make sure that you share. So let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, the first thing, and I have notes, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. But the first thing that you should consider, anyone should consider when they're getting locks, before they get locks, when they have locks, to keep in mind on your journey is the nature of your hair. And when I talk about the nature of your hair, to understand whether or not your hair is prone to breakage, to understand where your hair is prone to breakage, because I think that will play a major role in the type of locks that you get. Also the size, and all those other things, I think it will just play a huge role. If your hair is already broken, do you want to experience some type of damage? Do you want to cut it off before you start? Do you want to just go with the damage and just cut as you go? Which is essentially what I did. In hindsight, I kind of wish I would have cut everything off before I started, but my journey has still been beautiful regardless. So that's one thing under the nature of your hair you should consider. I think something else you consider is whether you have fine hair or not. And I say that because that's going to play a huge role in the way that your hair looks, and also, and I think the type of style that you want when it comes to the type of locks that you're going to get. If you're going to have freeform locks, if you're going to have, coils versus two-strand twists, if you're going to have sister locks versus traditional locks, I guess you could say. All these things are going to matter if you have fine hair, because one style may suit you better than another, or one way to succeed in that style may look better than another. Also, the density of hair. I have fine hair, I have low density hair. I knew I didn't want to have really small locks, and I knew I didn't want to have a lot of locks because I had fine hair and I had low density hair. But I also knew, because I had low density hair, I didn't want to have huge locks, because it wasn't going to look full. It was going to look very piecey and not very luscious as my hair could be. So really considering the characteristics of your hair is so important before you start the journey, and when you are also in the journey, so that you can set your expectations about how you want your hair to be and what your hair is really going to look like, and to be okay with that. So the second thing that you should definitely consider are the types of styles you may want to wear with your hair. So when you think about this, you should definitely consider how many locks that you want, because are you going to want to do a lot of updos? Are you going to want to do a lot of ponytails? Will 100 or 200 locks fit in a ponytail? And if they will the nature of your hair affect that? If you have very thick hair, if you have very dense hair, maybe 100, 200 locks is not going to work if you're someone who wants to do a lot of ponytails or updos. So just think about the type of styles you're going to want to do with your locks. And of course it can change over time, but initially I think you kind of know who you are, you know your style, and you know more or less the things that you'll gravitate to. So knowing that, I think, is so important. Also, how many locks you have, I think also plays a role in how heavy, or how heavy your locks feel at your scalp. So I think that's important too. In addition, when I'm thinking about the types of styles that you want, the types of locks go hand in hand with that. Do you want sister locks? Do you want freeform locks? Do you want locks that you manipulate a little bit more, the ones that you retwist? I think that you can do all styles regardless of the type of locks that you have, but I do think that some styles kind of flow better with certain styles of locks. And so I think you absolutely can do cornrows with sister locks. I think it would probably take a long time to do cornrows with sister locks, or to do certain updos. Not that it's impossible. I see so many beautiful women and men doing so many different styles with their hair, but I just think kind of knowing where you want to go with your hair is so important before you start your lock journey, to know what types of locks you want, how many, and also your parting system. And this is something I wish I thought about more. I ended up parting my hair down the middle. And in hindsight, I kind of wish I did a diagonal, because some styles that I want to wear, like ponytails and stuff, I automatically have a middle part, and I have to work overtime to not have a middle part and to make it look like there isn't a middle part there, because I deliberately created a middle part. And so right now I have like this over situation going, and it's also because the way I retwisted my hair, but my hair is parted in the middle. And if I were to go back and do it, I wouldn't have done that, because the other styles I want to do that I kind of have to work, I feel like, overtime to kind of cover up my middle part. So think about your parting system, and if you don't want to have a deliberate like parts, think about that before you start. And not that you can't change it again, and not that there are not things you can do to mitigate it, but it is going to be something you're going to have to think about. Okay, the third thing that you should consider is maintenance. So I think you need to think about, how much time do you want to spend on your locks? Do you want to be the one doing it? Do you want to get a loctician? How much does a loctician cost? Will that fit in your budget? I think a lot of times people think that locticians are cheap, and I think that they are not. They are specialists. They are trained to know what they're doing, and you have faith in knowing that they have the knowledge and the skill to really do your hair, to make sure that your hair is healthy. And so that might be a cost that you might have if that is how you want to maintain your hair and not self-maintain your locks. And it's not hard to self-maintain your locks, but I totally understand like the desire to have a loctician as well. Product costs. I think my product costs absolutely decreased when I had locks, especially because initially when I've been on YouTube, I've done a lot of natural hair videos. So that means trying out a lot of products, sharing them, all those things like that. But now all I use really is water, oil, rose water, maybe some edge control now and then, and like aloe vera gel. But that's so much more affordable than prior to when I had natural hair. So that might not be like a huge cost for you, like product cost, but it's still something to consider, like where you might get your products from, what type of products do you want, what may or may not work for your hair, because what might work for you may not work for someone else as it relates to products. The last thing you should consider, like under the realm of maintenance, I think is how active of a lifestyle that you have, because this is going to let you know like how often you might want to get your hair retwisted if you're interested in retwist, how often you might want to wash your hair, what are the best products people are using who are super active, like the headbands, all those things that kind of like headbands that like absorb sweat, like all those things that can help you with the overall maintenance of your lock style. Okay, the fourth thing you should keep in mind before you start your journey or while you're on your journey is that people will have opinions, they'll have questions, and they'll have comments. Comments and opinions go hand in hand, but anyway, be prepared for that. Before you start your journey, during your journey, like before you start, if you're going to share with people, some people may not agree. Some people may have their own ideas of like what a lock journey should be, what it means, what it signifies, and maybe that doesn't resonate with you. Maybe it does, but you should just be cognizant and aware that like that's going to be a part of it, but also just be confident and secure enough to like not let that bother you, because overall it is your journey, it is your hair, and you should be able to do whatever you want. So like people will have a lot of questions about how you maintain your hair, and I'm not talking about people who also want the similar hairstyle. I'm talking about people who are just ignorant to the idea of locks and like the lock journey. Don't let that bother you either. Like, and also know that you have agency of whether or not you want to answer those questions. You can easily pivot someone to Google or like YouTube. You know, if people are asking questions that kind of seem like shady or just annoying and like are making comments, it's just like you don't have to entertain it, but know that it may come. But I hope you don't let that deter you or get you too like out of your space, because people are people, you know? And the last thing you should consider, that this journey will stretch you and grow you in so many ways. And I think in so many ways I didn't expect that, but locks have taught me so much, like to be patient. You have to be so patient, like just getting through each stage and each month until you kind of start having that mature stage, but also just loving each month takes patience. And I've learned that when I just sit and I wait, like, oh, I really start to appreciate it so much more. And there are moments where like I have wanted to cut my hair because it didn't look like the way I thought it did, or it wasn't progressing fast enough. And I'm always glad that I didn't. Like, even now I'm starting to see so much more growth. And just January I did a length check and I'm just like, wow, you were so close to like giving up because you were just being impatient. Over and over again, it kind of reiterates the idea of patience for me, and I think that's true for so many people. So that's something like to look forward to as you start your journey, during your journey, to just remember that like you are continuously developing patience. Creativity, I think that it has stretched my creativity to think about different ways I wear my hair and to try to experiment with different styles and things of that nature. So having locks has definitely pushed my creativity because it's totally outside the rim of what I'm familiar with and used to as it relates to doing my hair. Acceptance, again, you have to accept that things are going to take however long they're going to take, that some stages are not going to be like the most, I don't know, glamorous. It's not going to feel the easiest, but just accepting each stage that you're in and accepting like you for who you are. I think so much sometimes like locks helps you like not be so vain in certain ways, because you just really like, I think all the time my locks help me just see my face, help me see myself, and kind of not even just physical but on the inside. And so like I think that's something that locks helps people do. It's just like to continue to accept yourself for who you are and love that no matter how you wear your hair. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like no matter how you wear your hair, to accept who you are, to accept like the beauty that is inside of you. The last thing is self-confidence, because I am accepting that, oh, it doesn't really matter how I wear my hair. Like, and I know that sounds silly, like I am who I am. Like I'm always who I am. I'm gonna show up as who I am. And that has done so much for my self-confidence. It's done so much for me to know that like my identity is not tied up in the way I wear my hair or anything that's external really. My identity is tied up in like who I am on the inside and my values. And that has done wonders for my self-confidence. And yeah, those are all the things. If you stuck with me this far, thank you so much for staying. I hope that this was helpful, something to keep in mind before you start your journey, while you're on your journey. As always, thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in my next video. Later.